Hey guys, welcome back to Anthony's Tennis Sub. My name's Anthony Hirsch. Today I'm going to be doing the draw predictions for the Wimbledon men's singles tournament. I'm going to go over the seeds from every single quarter of the draw, all 4 quarters. I'm going to go over the biggest storyline from each quarter, like always. Going to go over the best matches of that quarter. Not just first rounds, but also 4th round quarterfinals as well, which won't always happen, but the best kind of potential matches that we might see in every single section of the draw, the dark horses, and then ultimately my quarterfinal, semifinal, and final predictions. Please don't forget to subscribe to Anthony's Tennis Sub if you are new, and please don't forget to like as well. I appreciate everybody joining in. So we're doing another draw predictions. My Roland Garros ones, I did pretty well. I got 7 out of 8 quarterfinalists right. I got the semifinal and final exactly right. I said Alcaraz would beat Zverev in the final. It all played out kind of the way I wanted to in that draw prediction for Roland Garros. This one was tough. I put a lot of thought in. I've gone with a few very, let's say, risky, outlandish predictions, but these are real kind of thoughts and opinions I kind of have looking at the draw of what might end up happening. I think it's a very open tournament. We're at a point where, you know, Djokovic and Federer don't seem like they're going to be dominating this event. Djokovic, but we still have questions about the knee, although, yeah, you never know. He still very well could win the tournament, but then also Sinner and Alcaraz, still relatively inexperienced on the surface. There's still question marks. There's nobody that's an absolute clear favorite. Let's just put it that way. And I feel like there's a few guys in there who you have to look at as potential people that could take the title. But let's just get into it. I'm going to give my predictions. I'm going to give my thoughts. So going straight onto quarter number 1, I've got the seeds are Sinner, Griekspoor, Jarry, Shelton, Dimitrov, Manarino, Zhang, and Medvedev. Story of the quarter. Dimitrov. Is this one of his best chances ever for a slam? How is he able to perform? Can he at least make it deep? Dimitrov is a guy who I'm looking at this Wimbledon as one of his best chances ever for a major title. And I don't know, I don't think it's necessarily likely. At this point, I mean, he's just staying inside the top 10 in the world. There's other guys like Sinner and Alcaraz there who you would favor against a guy like Dimitrov. But I'm just looking at a guy like Dimitrov who's serving better than ever, returning better than ever. His first strike is so good. His touch is so good. His athleticism is so good. I feel like he has a game that can at least do pretty well on grass. He has a great slice. And I'm looking at this Wimbledon as maybe, you know, one of his best chances to have a very, very deep run at a major. Now, is he going to be able to pull it off? That's the question. How is he able to perform? Can he at least make it deep into the tournament? I mean, people, including myself, had high hopes for him coming into Australia after winning Brisbane and having the end of the season he had last year post Beijing. Got to the Miami final this year. I mean, he's having some really good results, really strong results. So we'll see if he's able to build on that. I think a lot of people are rooting for Dimitrov to be able to do that because this guy who had a lot of pressure on him early on in his career to be the next Federer, to be this, to be that. And he's playing the best tennis of his life, in my opinion, some of the best tennis of his life. And I think Wimbledon courts should do him well, He lost a match that I think he'd have been slightly disappointed about to Korda during the grass lead-ups in Queens, but I mean, Korda is definitely also a strong dark horse. I mean, Dimitrov isn't even a dark horse. He's potentially one of the favorites to win the title, but Korda, I guess you could call Korda a bit of a dark horse. And anyway, I would watch out for Dimitrov, and one of the biggest storylines of this quarter is how is he able to perform. Moving on to the matches of the quarter, I've got a few here. Monfils versus Manarino, first round. All Frenchman affair. I kind of think Monfils is the favorite, to be honest, in this one. He just got to the semis of the tournament in Mallorca. I think should be a good match. Manarino not quite performing how he usually does during the grass swing, and I think Monfils, even though he's not the seed, I think he could get through that one. Sinner Berrettini, round 2, huge match, definitely the best match of the quarter. Well, first of all, Berrettini, former world number 6, but also a guy with a huge forehand, and a guy who loves to slice his backhand, and his backhand isn't as easily, you know, as he's able to slice it and use that slice effectively on the grass, his backhand isn't as bad on grass, and he's got a big serve, he's got a big game for grass, and I think he loves grass courts. He always shows up for the grass, where the ball stays so low and skids so low, and yeah, that's going to be a big match between two two compatriots there. I still think Sinner is the favorite for sure, but it's a tough match to play early on in your tournament for Jannik, no doubt. Although he has had practice now with a Halle title, which is going to give Sinner a lot of confidence. And then the next one I have Struff versus Zhang, round 2. I just think it's going to be a good match. Zhang just took out Medvedev, and I think that is that's an interesting match with Struff, who I have high hopes for on the grass. Struff's best surface so far has been clay, but I think he can have some strong results on grass too. And I also he hasn't had a big run at Wimbledon, but also these are the opponents he's played at Wimbledon. Struff, he wasn't able to play last year. Because even though he was playing some of his best tennis, he wasn't able to play last year because he had an injury, so he withdrew. 2022, Jan-Lennard Struff played Alcaraz in the first round. He lost 6-4 in the 5th set. Year before that, he lost to Medvedev in 4 sets. That was when Medvedev won his first major, the slam right before he won his first major. And before that, he lost to Federer before. I mean, he's been only losing to top guys at Wimbledon. He's had bad draws. I think Struff might beat Medvedev and reach the 4th round here. I also had Struff having a good run at Roland Garros. That didn't really end up happening, but I kind of think Struff might beat Medvedev and reach the 4th round. So those are my thoughts for when it comes to Struff. This is a guy who loves coming to net and all the time. He did well on grass last year. He's had a few good results this year. He had a very high-level close match against Sinner, so I'd watch out for Struff here. And he is one of my dark horses. But before I get to my dark horses, just to rattle off these other big matches I think could be great. Sinner, Jarry, round 4. I think could be quite good if Jarry gets there. Shelton is the seed who's supposed to get there, which is why I have him in parentheses. But I have Sinner, Jarry, round 4. Also Sinner, Medvedev, quarterfinals. Or the Sinner Dimitrov quarterfinals, depending on who gets to the quarters, either Dimitrov or Medvedev. Medvedev is the seed to get there, but I think Dimitrov might be the favorite when you look at the form of both those players and we look at who's the best on grass. I kind of have Dimitrov over Medvedev maybe to get there, but either way, that's going to be a great match, so that's one of the matches of the quarter as well. Dark horses, Berrettini, Struff. I've already talked about both of those guys. I've also got Jarry, who nearly went 5 sets with Alcaraz at Wimbledon last year. He was playing amazing. So, Chileans are doing well on grass. I mean, Jarry last year at Wimbledon, and this year Tabilo winning this week's event today is a big result for Tabilo. So, but anyway, Jarry, he's got some big shots for grass, and I would watch out for him. He's pretty good at the net. Zhang as well, talked about Zhang, took out Medvedev. He's been playing a really good ball, very solid striker of the ball from the back of the court. Morozov is the other guy I want to pick as well. He took a set off Sinner recently, and I think he has a game that could be very good on grass. And he's still one of these younger guys who's still gaining more and more experience on grass. So he's another dark horse for me as well. He seems to perform well in the big tournaments, does Morozov. But overall, this is my quarterfinal. I've got Sinner defeats Dimitrov in 4 sets is my quarterfinal in quarter 1. I was considering putting Grigor further here, but this is not a good draw for Dimitrov. It's not a good draw for Grigor. He just lost in straight sets in the quarterfinals of Roland Garros to Sinner, and I have Sinner taking out Grigor in 4 sets. I mean, let's see if Grigor can do better than that, but it wasn't very close in Miami. It wasn't very close in Roland Garros, and I just feel like the matchup isn't great for Grigor. Sinner is going to feel... He hasn't lost before the semifinals of any tournament this year, and I just don't know if mentally Dimitrov has enough at this point against Sinner to beat him at that stage. I'd love to be proven wrong, though, but I have Sinner beating Dimitrov in 4 sets. I give Grigor a set. And Sinner lost a lot of sets in Halle. I mean, he won Halle. He was playing very well in a very impressive tournament right after becoming world number 1. But he had some close calls there. So I'm not going to say he's untouchable in this tournament. I definitely don't think he's untouchable. Quarter number 2, I've got the seeds are Alcaraz, Tiafoe, Baez, Humbert, Paul, Bublik, Navone, and Casper Ruud. My biggest storyline of the quarter, Tommy Paul is a big dark horse with a good draw. Also, how does Alcaraz look defending Wimbledon in still just his 6th grass court tournament? This draw, I thought, is looking really, really good for Paul. It's a bit of a, looking at Alcaraz's draw here. So it's a good draw initially. Initially, Alcaraz has a good draw. He's got a qualifier in the first round, Lajal. Then he's got the winner of Vukic and Offner. I mean, Vukic can be tough on grass. Offner just reached the final, but I still feel like that's a good draw for Alcaraz. Very, very favorable especially if he brings out the level he was playing towards the second half of Wimbledon last year, hitting the forehand so big and just, everything was working for Alcaraz. So, his movement very good. I think that this is a good draw. Also, Tiafoe against Arnaldi is a matchup here. I kind of think that Arnaldi is the favorite to beat Tiafoe at the moment. Tiafoe is looking all out of sorts. He's not looking motivated. And Arnaldi's been playing really good ball consistently, and he's been getting through tight matches as well. And, I don't know. Tiafoe lost in straight sets in Australia and didn't do well at RG. I kind of expect that maybe we'll see a similar pattern here. Maybe a first round out, because Arnaldi is not just one of the highest ranked players that you can play in the first round as a seed, but he's also one of the best. Maybe the best, most dangerous player you could play as a seed. It's almost hard. I almost feel like Arnaldi should be seeded. I don't know if he's number 33 or number 34, but I feel like he should be seeded. So that's what I'd say with that. But in general, looking at Alcaraz's draw, it's really Tommy Paul in the quarterfinals where I feel like it gets tough. Humbert is also in there, who can be tough, especially in the big matches. Humbert seems to show up, and I think he should be quite good on grass. If not, maybe that's his best surface. I don't know. But, in terms of Tommy Paul, he's got a great draw. Looking at Tommy Paul's draw here. So he's got, Pedro Martinez, then he's got the winner of Ferdinand and Max Purcell. Purcell could be very tough. There's no doubt about it. Purcell's played a really good final today against Taylor Fritz in Eastbourne. At times, he just played a few lousy games against Fritz today, but outside of that, he was playing very high level ball. And, but I just think Tommy Paul is so confident right now. Also, Bublik is in there. That could be a third round. So a few players who are, let's say, grass specialists in Purcell and Bublik who really like playing on grass. But then you got a player who is the opposite of a grass specialist, a top 8 seed in his section, but a guy who I think most people would expect Paul to beat, actually, in Casper Ruud. If Ruud even makes it that far to the 4th round. Ruud could always get further. He's a top-tier player for a reason. He shows up at slams, it seems like. But I back Tommy Paul, and if some of Paul's biggest issues, I think, are expending too much energy early in slams and early round matches. I don't think he's going to this time. And Alcaraz, I just don't know if his opponents are going to prepare him for Paul, who he really has struggled against. 2 years in a row, he lost to Paul in Canada. He played another close match against Tommy Paul in, I believe in Cincinnati last year, which was very, very close, 3 sets. Alcaraz doesn't like playing Paul at all. They play some great matches, but Alcaraz seems to bring the best out of Tommy Paul, and I kind of think that's a very dangerous match. But yeah, I'm looking at some of these other matches. Baez Nakashima should be pretty interesting. Bergs Kazal could be fun. Menzik Bublik. I'm really, really stoked to see how Menzik is looking. He seems to be playing already very good on the grass. Menzik is one of these guys he's a quick learner, and he's rising up quickly. He's figuring things out very, very quickly, and I think if he's not a kind of household name in tennis at the moment, I think Menzik will be very soon, in my opinion. Best matches of the quarter. Arnaldi Tiafoe round 1. Like I said, I expect Arnaldi to get through that, to be honest. Bublik Menzik round 1. Also, I've got Paul versus Bublik for the round 3 match. Could be very, very good. Humbert Alcaraz round 4, potentially. Humbert versus Alcaraz. And the big one, which I have 3 exclamation points here, Paul versus Alcaraz quarterfinal is my other match of the quarter, best match of the quarter. That could be absolutely amazing. Dark horses, Bublik, Thompson, and Arnaldi are my dark horses. Jordan Thompson, he's been playing good ball all year. He won a title in Acapulco where he spent over a day on court. He beat Casper Ruud there. He took out Sasha Zverev there in almost 4 hours. And grass is his best surface, and he just took out Taylor Fritz as well. I would watch out for Jordan Thompson for sure. And then my other dark horse is Matteo Arnaldi, who Listen, Matteo Arnaldi, he just took out a Rublev in straight sets at the French. He beat Humbert in Queens. Arnaldi's playing good ball. He's 19-14 on the season, and he's had some good wins, so I would watch out for him. And, okay, ultimately, here is my quarterfinal. That Paul Alcaraz quarterfinal, I think, is potentially could be one of the bigger matches of this quarter for sure. Two guys who are always such good shot makers, big talents, such good athletes, and they just bring out such incredible athletic shot making out of one another. Here is my quarterfinal prediction for this quarter with Alcaraz, Tiafoe, Humbert, Ruud, Bublik, all these guys. This is my quarterfinal. In 3, 2, 1. Tommy Paul defeats Alcaraz in 4 sets. I have Tommy Paul taking out the defending champion in 4 sets. I just think that the matchup is not good for Carlos. Carlos has struggled against Tommy Paul. And I don't know. I think it's always tough to defend a major. Alcaraz was not able to at the U.S. Open. He definitely could here, but he's still only playing a 6th grass court event. I mean, not that many people defend their first Wimbledon, and Alcaraz definitely could be one of those guys, but I'm just so high on Tommy Paul at the moment. The way he was playing at Queens, I've really been rethinking my opinions of Paul and what he's able to do. He's running on great momentum at the moment. He's doing well on all of the surfaces. Last year, I expected Paul to have a game that could be very, very dangerous on grass, and I still think that he has a game that can be very, very dangerous on grass. Using the full court, coming to net, playing aggressive, pushing Alcaraz back. I just think he's got big weapons, and I think that it's the perfect storm. I mean, Alcaraz is so good at this point at getting to quarterfinals, semifinals of majors, and I think he'll definitely do that, but I just feel like Tommy Paul show up for this quarterfinal, and we'll see if he's able to do that and get to his second major semifinal. But I've got the big upset, and I mean, Alcaraz will definitely be determined to defend, but I just think that Tommy Paul's running on great momentum, and I don't think. I have big hopes for Paul coming into this tournament, especially with the draw that he has, because I don't think he's going to be expending much energy. I think he's going to have everything to give for this quarterfinal. I think that it's going to be tough for Alcaraz to deal with him. So I've got Paul in 4 sets. I could have said 5 sets, and if it goes to 5 sets, then I favor Alcaraz, because Alcaraz has only ever lost 1 5-set match, and that was to Berrettini at the Australian Open. Where Alcaraz nearly upset Berrettini from 2 sets to love down. He was down 2 sets to love. He brought it to a 5th set tiebreaker. That's the only 5-set match Alcaraz has lost in his career. He's 11-1. So, or 10-1. I think 11-1. So anyway, if it goes 5 sets, I maybe favor Alcaraz, but I think Paul just shows up and plays amazing that day and maybe takes out Alcaraz because he's been playing great. That's my prediction. It's also just a tough summer. At this point, with the Olympics on clay around the corner, and with Alcaraz just having won Roland Garros, listen, I just don't know. I think that Alcaraz, it's very hard winning the Channel Slam, especially the first time that you win Roland Garros to win Wimbledon right after that. And I don't know if Alcaraz will be able to do it, but we'll see it. And I've got Tommy Paul over him in 4 sets. All right, and moving on to quarter number 3, seeds Rublev, Musetti, Korda, Tsitsipas, Fritz, Tabilo, Draper, and Zverev. My biggest storyline of the quarter, opportunities for different guys to make a semifinal, big opportunities, including Rublev, who is yet to make a semifinal of a major ever, which is amazing, which is crazy. But this is a big opportunity if mentally he's there. And I just don't know if Rublev's stock has ever really been lower than right now, to be honest. And if the confidence has ever been less there, but if mentally he's there, he's got an opportunity. Tsitsipas, Zverev, Rublev, this is the section where all of them are in there. The 90s generation, they're all in there. So it's an interesting section. I feel like there's a lot of opportunities because I'm not that confident in Tsitsipas and Zverev on grass. I'm just not. Zverev has a serve that can be a big weapon on grass. I do think that, but there's a lot of ways that I just think on grass his game doesn't really suit. He doesn't really love stepping in and being the aggressor off the first strike and kind of taking advantage in that way. His touch has a little bit to be desired at times. His transition game and net game at times has a little bit to be desired. And there's just a few things that I just don't feel as confident about Zverev on grass. I feel like on clay, where he has time to build out the points and rally from the back, I feel like on clay he's a lot better. Even on hard court, he's better. On grass, I still have issues. Tsitsipas, I mean, can get easily attacked off that backhand side and easily rushed, among other things. I feel like he still should be good on grass. He's won a title on grass, but and then Rublev, I like on grass. He played an incredible first set against Djokovic in the quarterfinals last year, but I just don't know where his head is at. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. Best match of the quarter, I've got Zverev versus Marcos Giron in round 2. I don't expect an upset, but it could happen. It definitely could happen. Musetti versus Rublev round 3 is another one that I have. Musetti has been playing really good ball. Took out Alex de Minaur, who's been one of the biggest kind of improvers and one of the better players of this grass swing. So I expect that to be a really good matchup because Rublev, once again, I just don't know where his form is at. Lost in straight sets at Roland Garros, so we'll see if he can do better against Musetti here. I do feel like he should be the favorite, but it should be interesting. Korda Tsitsipas round 3 should be really fun. Should we get it? Korda Tsitsipas round 3. I've got my eye on Korda. I have big hopes for the American men coming into this tournament. It was 15 years ago at this tournament that Federer beat Roddick to get the slam record. That was the last time that an American man has reached the final of a slam anywhere. It's the last time that an American man reached the final of a slam anywhere. So I kind of think, I don't know, it's been a while, but I kind of think going into this tournament with the way that Paul won Queens, with the way Fritz has won Eastbourne today and has been playing really, really good, and the way that Korda has been playing, got to a final, semi-final on grass. He's been playing great. He loves the grass. I just feel like my hopes are very high for the American men coming into this tournament. I definitely have my eye on Korda. Another one, I have Draper versus Zverev round 3. I've got Draper versus Zverev round 3. I'll talk about that one more in a second. I've got Fritz versus Zverev round 4. Potentially, if we get that one. And also Fritz versus Draper round 4 could be quite good as well if we get that one. So those are some of my matches of the quarter. Dark horses, I've got Marcos Giron, I've got Draper, and I've got Korda. Draper, obviously, getting his first title was a huge, huge moment for him. First title on grass. He beat Berrettini in a very, very, very high-level final. Probably one of the more high-level finals of the year, especially between two players that are, I think both of them were outside the top 30, top 40 in the world. So, they got the title in Stuttgart there. And, he's got a game that's great for grass. He's a Brit. He loves, he grew up playing on grass. And, he's somebody to watch. And Korda as well. One of the cleanest, ball strikers, one of the, most complete players, one of the most skilled. I expect big things from both those guys. They're both young players that have struggled, but I've continued to be optimistic about both of them. They've had physical issues, they've had some mental issues, confidence issues at times, but I think their confidence is picking up, and I love to see it. So anyway, at the end of the day, with this Rublev, Tsitsipas, Zverev, Fritz kind of quarter, here is what I went with in the quarterfinal. In 3, 2, 1. Taylor Fritz defeats Sebastian Korda in 5 sets. It's not going to be Tsitsipas. It's not Rublev. It's not Zverev in my draw preview anyway. It's Fritz defeats Korda in 5 sets. 2 American guys. So 3 Americans in the quarterfinals is my prediction. And I've got Fritz over Korda. I'm not confident on any of those guys. Rublev, Tsitsipas, Zverev, like I said, I just am not. Zverev is playing great, but I've just never liked the way he looks on grass for the reasons that I mentioned. And I think there are some danger players. I include Giron in there. Giron is very underrated. And he's been very underrated recently. Just took out Rublev playing very, very good tennis. He's been playing well. So, but especially Jack Draper in the 3rd round. Now, I have some concerns about Draper and his physicality in best of 5 format, but I think he could have his best Wimbledon, potentially reach the second week in the 4th round. Here's what I expect might happen. I think Draper beats Zverev in the 3rd round is my prediction, and then I have Fritz beating Draper in the 4th round. And on the other side with Rublev, Tsitsipas, and Korda, I have Korda getting through there. I think he's the most informed player of that section. But I think Draper can beat Zverev. I think that Zverev's going to have a very tough time on the return. And I just think Draper on grass, he's got some skills. And he's a very talented player. He's got some big shots. I think he could beat Zverev. I think he's more comfortable on grass than Zverev. And he's going to have the home crowd advantage. And then Fritz is playing really well. I'm unapologetically high on Taylor Fritz. I've been so for a long time. I think this guy is better than people give him credit for. He's got a work ethic that you shan't not look past. This guy works hard to get the best out of himself in his game. He works hard. And that's worth something. Both these guys, Fritz and Korda, who are in my quarterfinal, have never been to the semifinal of a major. They'd both be playing for that. I think it's going to be a 5-setter. I think it's going to be epic, if you could call it that. I think it's going to be long, and I think it's going to be good. And I think that Fritz will get the win in 5 sets over Korda. I think he's got the confidence off of Eastbourne. Potentially he's got the mental edge maybe, especially because he's been doing better in slams for a little bit now. He's gone to 3 quarterfinals. He has more experience. He has more experience in this stage compared to Korda. And he's got that confidence off of winning a title in Eastbourne. Korda's done well too, but he hasn't won a title this grass swing. I think Fritz is, also the title in Delray Beach that Fritz got. Also the amazing match he played against Djokovic in Australia. Fritz has talked about his big hopes for Wimbledon this year. I think he's going to have his best slam result. I think he's going to make the semifinal. I love his draw. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I have Fritz getting through. So as you see, already a few big picks from my end for this tournament. They're not slowing down either, but I put a lot of thought into this. I did this draw preview, I swear, for I put together this draw for 3.5 hours, just thinking, pretty much straight, 2-3 hours straight, just thinking about what I think is gonna be the case. And this is what I ended up going with. Some favorites getting through to the end, but a lot of upsets and a lot of unpredictability happening as well, where there's some guys shaking up the draw that you might not expect in my preview. We'll see what ends up happening, but I went with some things that are pretty outlandish. Okay, quarter number 4, I've got Hurkacz, Cerundolo, FAA, de Minaur, Rune, Khachanov, Etcheverry, and Djokovic. Strong quarter. I think it's a strong quarter. De Minaur, Djokovic, Hurkacz, these are players that play well. FAA, I think, should play well on grass. We'll see if that happens. Rune, I think, is better on grass than people give him credit for. The guy's still very young. He's still improving, but last year he played fantastic at Wimbledon, a really high-level match against Dimitrov. And I don't see why his game can't be good on grass. So I think people don't give him enough credit for where his potential is at on grass. And look at me defending Rune. I'm not the guy who's usually is defending Rune. I've never been the guy. I've said before that if I was to make a top prediction for Rune, I don't think he'll be world number 1. And I've said these different things that I'm not as high on Holger Rune as some other people are. And I said that after Paris, when he won Paris, and I said that after the clay swing that he had. I think he's very talented. I think he's very complete, which is amazing for a young player. He's got lots of time to improve. But on a best prediction, those have been my predictions for Rune. But with all of that said, which is not to be too negative, but with all of that said, Rune, I think, why can't he be good on grass? The guy won Paris indoors, and he got to the quarterfinals last year. Did he take a set off on Alcaraz? I don't remember. They beat Dimitrov when Dimitrov was playing really well. And I think he's got a game that can be great for grass. He's got a big serve, and he's got a lot of skills. I think he's got good touch, decent touch. I think he can be a guy who can play well on grass. So I think people underrate him. Anyway, storyline of the quarter. Biggest storyline of this quarter. Djokovic playing. Good section for him, but some top grass threats on the other side of the draw. So, just looking at the draw for Djokovic, it's a good draw. He's got Kopriva in the first round as a qualifier. He's only got qualifiers or wildcards in the first 2 rounds, which is incredible. Morokanis, Fernley, Kopriva. And then in the 3rd round, he could have Etcheverry, maybe Luca Nardi, who beat him in Indian Wells. But you have to think on grass, this is a great draw. Really good draw. And then Rune or Khachanov. So, Eubanks maybe as well. Paul Jubb, you never know. But probably Rune or Khachanov. Or Eubanks, who knows. But one of those guys. you have to think that Djokovic loves this draw. Now, I will be honest. Well, first of all, about Djokovic, good that he's playing. It's been a lot of question marks about whether he even plays the tournament. He had to have his meniscus snipped. Taylor Fritz went through a similar injury, and Fritz said that he was able to play Wimbledon pretty much like 20 days after he had that same surgery, and he got to the third round. So Fritz said he wasn't particularly surprised, Fritz who had the same injury and surgery, or similar. And he said he wasn't surprised that Djokovic is playing and is already feeling pretty comfortable. He said more, it's less about the injury affecting you, more it's about the surgery kind of affecting you. So, I think that Djokovic, we'll see how Djokovic is looking. He hasn't been winning a whole lot anyway outside of the injury. So, we'll see what all happens. The big story though is Djokovic playing. But yeah, matches of the quarter, Murray versus Mahoch in round 1. Could be the last time Andy Murray plays at Wimbledon. We'll see if it is. This is the same match the same matchup from Miami where I got scared that was the last match that Murray played. When Murray played Mahoch in Miami. An absolutely amazing fight from Murray there to nearly win the match, and then he got injured right at the end, but he still fought till I think like 7-5 in the tiebreaker. And he had a bit of an injury there, but Murray, like a fighter, like always, already back playing. And, let's see if Murray can get his revenge. No matter what happens, it'd be so good to see him potentially finish his career on the singles court. We'll see if he plays Olympics as well. But, everybody, I feel like we should all tune in for Andy Murray in his last match and give credits to an all-time great. And I'm not just saying all-time great because of, some people have their ideas of what they have their ideas of where Murray is ranked in history, but I have the idea that this guy is absolutely up there as one of the all-time greats. 59 semifinals of big tournaments is Andy Murray's career, especially before 2019-2018. He had 75-76% win rate in his career matches. He's been world number 1. He's beaten the big 3 time and time and time again, competed with them competitively in their primes. Got to 11 slam finals, which is amazing. Won 3 majors. Got 2 Olympics. Won an ATP finals. It goes on and on. So all credits to Andy Murray. All credits to Andy Murray. The guy is a legend of the sport. So I'm looking forward to his last match, potentially at Wimbledon. We'll see if he can get his revenge. Mahoch, I think, should like the grass. He's a guy who likes coming in a lot, and I think that he's got a lot of skills. And if he plays anyway how he played against Tiafoe in Australia, then he should be a very tough opponent. But we'll see what Murray has for him, because Murray's also tough. Eubanks versus Khachanov round 2 is very interesting. Include that one. Not that much to say. Eubanks will be interesting to see if how he can defend his quarterfinal points. He's a big threat on grass at Wimbledon always. Nobody wants to see his name in the draw. FA versus De Minaur, third round is my other best match of the quarter. FA is a guy who reached the final of Queens a few years ago, played Cilic, and I always thought that he was going to be one of these next top guys on grass. He's finally finding some of his best level again. He's just been injured during this grass season, but if he's healthy, this should be an absolute barnstormer of a match. I'll tell you what, if FA versus De Minaur play in the third round and FA is anywhere near himself, I could be totally off kilter. I think this could be one of the best matches of the whole tournament, FA versus De Minaur. We'll see. Okay, Djokovic versus Rune. This is the match that I wanted to talk about earlier. Djokovic, Rune, round 4. This might sound wild. I was highly considering putting Rune over Djokovic here. Djokovic is not like playing Rune. Rune has taken a set in nearly every match they've played. ATP finals, where Djokovic was very close to losing. Paris, where Djokovic is also very close to losing, down a set. It looked like Rune might be there for the upset, playing amazing. Even the first time that they played at the US Open, Rune was like 18 years old, took a set off Djokovic playing great, and then just started cramping. Rune loves playing Novak. And on grass, I just think people underrate Rune. Djokovic only got to the 4th round, or I guess Djokovic got to the quarterfinals of Roland Garros. We'll see how the knee holds up. And I just don't know if he's going to be playing players that play anything like Rune in his first couple matches. I think Rune could be a very tough match for him. I went back and forth for like 10 minutes thinking, am I really gonna back Rune to go all the way. I know I just did the whole spiel on Rune that I'm not that high on him to do that many big things down the road, but I do like him on grass, and I was just thinking, am I gonna do this thing where I put him in front of Djokovic? But no, I don't think I'm going to be doing that. But I'll tell you what my quarterfinal prediction is, though. But yeah, I think this could be a very good match as well. Shall Rune get to the fourth round in the second week? If Rune gets to the fourth round in the second week, then I think it'll be a good match. Hurkacz, de Minaur round 4 could be amazing. Two of the best players on grass, no doubt about it. A big clash of styles between them as well. Hurkacz been playing so good. Didn't drop a set till the final of Halle, then played a great final. Sinner was just better. But Hurkacz he's just one of the best players in the world, and he's so good on grass. I mean, I tell you what, I've been feeling for a while now that at some point he's bound to have just an absolute breakthrough on grass, and yeah, I just have that feeling for this year. Got to the fourth round of the French, lost in straight sets to Dimitrov, but back on grass, took out Zverev in straight sets in the semifinals of Halle, and then just lost to Sinner. But yeah, I mean, he's played well at Wimbledon every single year. A few years ago, obviously beat Roger in his last match, got to the semifinals, but and beat Medvedev there as well. But he's always played well here. So last year, Hurkacz had set points, I believe, in both of the first two sets against Djokovic. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I think he had set points both the first two sets. He was definitely very, very close to winning both of those. He should have won both of those first two sets. Then he easily won the third set. When they came back the next day, it looked like it was over. And I just feel like Hurkacz could have beaten Djokovic in straight sets last year. He should have won both those first two sets. Similar to ADF at the French Open. Had set points, I believe, in both the first two sets against Novak at the French. Was once again, at least was very close to winning both of them. He should have won both of those first two sets. I'll stand by that firmly. ADF against Novak at the French last year. But anyway, Hurkacz always shows up at Wimbledon. I expect him to be an absolute top threat. I'll just say that as well. I just have that feeling. And I mean, he's shown why he won Shanghai last year. I think, and the grass is his best surface. I think he's going to be tough. Hurkacz versus Djokovic quarterfinal is my big one. We'll talk about that in a minute. Dark horses: Felix Auger-Aliassime and Christopher Eubanks. Eubanks hit the most winners, my boy Eubanks. Listen, I watched Eubanks play a few times in Georgia Tech in person. I saw him at the Atlanta Open. I've known of him for a while. So good to see him getting the success. He hit the most winners in Wimbledon history last year. Wimbledon history, if anybody, any run. Absolutely dominant. Nearly bageled Medvedev. Took out Tsitsipas from down 2-1. I mean, Eubanks was playing absolutely phenomenal, and just serving his butt off, hitting so many winners, going big on returns, and coming to net all the time. Shout out to Eubanks. He had a great year last year, especially during the grass swing. We'll see if he can follow it up. I will say again about FA, on his day, I still back him. I know on grass, you can maybe rush him off the back and he can get awkward and start spouting errors. But on his on day, his serve, his forehand, his net game, there's a lot that I like about him. And I feel like on grass, a lot of his game should be quite good. And he likes working with pace, FA, I feel like. And that's how I feel. So I feel like FA is a big dark horse. If he shows up to his best, I'm not really putting that much of a limit on what he could do, but I just don't think that's going to be this year. I'll say that. Not in 2024. Quarterfinal. Hurkacz defeats Djokovic in 4 sets. I've got QB getting through in 4 sets. Like I said, he was so close last year. He was playing amazing. He had one of the best serving performances I think I've ever seen. If he serves like that, it's going to be very tough. Djokovic is not as good so far this year as he was last year, even regardless of the injury. I think Hurkacz is going to show up at Wimbledon. I think it might be good for him that it just wasn't quite his day in the final against Sinner and Halle. I think he's going to be coming into this Wimbledon thinking, listen, I've played every event playing well. I got to the Australian Open quarterfinals, played a fantastic match against Medvedev, coming to net a lot against Medvedev in that match as well, with good success as well, especially in the 3rd, 4th set. And I just feel like Hurkacz, he's so skilled. He's been working hard. He's primed for a big result. And I just feel like Djokovic isn't really there at the moment. I feel like Hurkacz can take it to Djokovic. I feel like Hurkacz can take it to Djokovic. I feel like we almost had this last year. He was really very close to winning both the first 2 sets. So I feel like if Djokovic doesn't really step up and start playing like the Djokovic we knew who played Wimbledon's up till, like, let's say 2022, 2023, if he doesn't show up to that level, then I think Hurkacz gets the win. I give it to Hurkacz in 4 sets. Some big picks from my end, I know that. So the semifinals, Sinner versus Paul, Hurkacz versus Fritz. Jannik Sinner is the only kind of guy who's supposed to be in the semis in my draw prediction. All right, and now let me go to my semifinal predictions. But before I get there, I just want to say, I really felt like coming in that this was going to be a very open tournament. I felt like coming in this was going to be a very open tournament. I said even before the year started. I made a prediction on my Twitter account, Anthony's _ tennis. I made a prediction that none of Sinner, Alcaraz, Medvedev, or Djokovic is going to win Wimbledon. That was my prediction going in. Why? Crazy summer. Crazy summer. Roland Garros, then Wimbledon, back to Roland Garros, then you have the hard court swing. Crazy summer for all these guys, especially for Novak, who's 37 and still trying to figure things out, and especially with the injury we saw at the French that we see now. But also Sinner and Alcaraz relatively still inexperienced on grass. Alcaraz trying to defend his first Wimbledon, which is a very tough task. In front of him, I'm still not fully convinced that he's going to be just consistent and dominant on a grass surface. Sinner, I think, is the best pick because he's improved his serves, had Wimbledon success in the past. Most reliable of those. Medvedev, I just don't really back on grass that much to win the tournament, although you never know. But I honestly kind of feel like his ceiling might be higher on clay. His floor is higher on grass. His ceiling might be higher on clay. We saw that with the Rome title, but I thought that for a while. But I don't really back Medvedev on grass. Here are my semifinal predictions. I ended up going with my semifinal predictions in 3, 2, 1. Sinner defeats Paul in 3 sets. Straight sets for Jannik Sinner over Tommy Paul in the semifinals. Sinner, he's been so good on grass, and now he's just improved in about every single aspect of the game. His drop shots are better. Although they could still use a little bit of improvement, he's definitely improved in the net in the transition game. His serve is so big. He hits huge shots from the back of the court, constant pace generation. And Paul would do great to get here, but for him to challenge deeply Sinner and Alcaraz, I think might be a tougher task, and I feel like he might not have as good of a matchup against Jannik. And he lost him in Canada last year, for example. He's had some relatively close matches against Sinner, but not that close. And I'm going to go with Jannik defeating Tommy Paul in 3 sets. Other prediction, Hurkacz defeats Fritz in 4 sets. Good run for Fritz and for Tommy Paul, 2 Americans making the semis if that is what happens. But the first American since Roddick in 2009 to make the final would have to wait if this turns out to be the case. Hurkacz defeats Fritz in 4 sets. It's going to be fun to see how this draw ages with what actually happens in the tournament. It's going to be interesting. Probably not too well, but we'll see. Hurkacz defeats Fritz in 4 sets is my prediction. I think Fritz would have a great run to the semifinals here. I have him taking a set over Hurkacz, but I am just so high on Hurkacz. I love his net game. I love the skills that he possesses. He's got a great backhand. He's got a amazing, insane serve. He's got a great mentality and competitive spirit that he's never afraid. He's a fearless competitor. I mean, I know the guy looks super shy and he's a very nice guy, very relaxed and whatever. But dude, the guy is a warrior. The guy beat Rafa 6-3, 6-1 and just didn't break a sweat. The guy beat big old Federer at Wimbledon, didn't break a sweat. The guy doesn't break a sweat. It doesn't matter who's on the other side. It doesn't matter what stage of the tournament he's in. He has a great record in finals. He's 8-3 in finals. The guy is a killer. He's won 2 Masters. The guy is absolutely one of the top best competitors on tour, and I like him on grass. I also like Fritz on grass. I'd love to see him make the semifinal. Fritz, a few years ago, was the only man in the quarterfinals here to not drop a set before getting to the quarters. Then playing Rafa, who's won Wimbledon twice and has made, 5, 6 finals here. Nadal playing great. I know Nadal wasn't completely himself, but Nadal was still playing amazing. Got 3 points away from beating Rafa. Fritz is playing at a very, very high level that year. And I just feel like Fritz has good potential on grass. I know his net game has a little bit to be desired. The way you can kind of attack after his backhand has a little bit to be desired. But his backhand's way better this year. Surviving against Djokovic in Australia, his backhand defense out of that backhand outside corner is one of the biggest things. His defense to offense and beating Tommy Paul in the Delray Beach final also came in handy against Purcell today in Eastbourne. these are some things that are reasons why I have Fritz going far, but I think that this is a lot going to come down to a few tiebreakers and some big serves, and I just feel like I back Hurkacz a little bit more in this stage, and Hurkacz will feel like this is his chance to really go after it and really try to even go after the title here. I mean, this is an open tournament. This is an open tournament. He just won a Masters in Shanghai not that long ago. He's running on some pretty decent momentum. Got to the final of Halle. He did well at Wimbledon last year. You'll remember that he did well against Djokovic last year. He did well, for sure. And yeah, I have Hurkacz over Fritz in 4 sets. This is my final prediction for the final of Wimbledon 2024. I went with some pretty wild picks here. I really thought through these and try to see what I was really kind of thinking. I tried to, and I was trying to see what I was thinking through every matchup. This was impossible to make. While I was doing it, this was one of the first draw previews. Before I just quickly mentioned before I get to the final prediction, but this was one of the few draw previews I did where I was like, I really don't know what I'm going to do. Is Djokovic losing early? Is he going far? Who's getting through? Fritz, Rublev? I really didn't know. I had an idea of my champion and who could be a champion coming in. I had an idea of who I might say wins it. But even during the final, when I had this final that I have Hurkacz and Sinner, I was going back and forth on what will happen. Who's going to win? This is my final prediction. 3, 2, 1. Hubert Hurkacz defeats Jannik Sinner in 4 sets. And he has the biggest win of his life, wins his first major, wins Wimbledon after a lot of people have been waiting for some big things for him on a grass court, seeing how, especially in the last couple of years, how insane his serve has been. He takes out Sinner. There's still only been one man in the Open era that has won more than 1 major in the first year where they win a major. Jannik Sinner would become the second if he wins this Wimbledon. Only Jimmy Connors back in the 70s, I believe. Back in the early 70s. He's the only man in the Open era. Jimmy Connors is the only man to win 2 majors the first year that he wins any major. If Sinner wins Wimbledon, he would have won Australia and Wimbledon. He'd only be the second. He still might be able to do so, but I just think it might be tough. Sinner would still make his first Wimbledon final. Sinner still absolutely could win it, but listen, I've had some big predictions for Hurkacz this year. I think this is a guy that a lot of people underrate. He's so good on grass. The draw is open. I think it's a chance for Hubie. And I go 4 sets rather than 5 sets because I feel like Hurkacz, he might not be able to do it in 5 sets. I feel like he's gonna, both guys coming into the tournament, Hurkacz isn't going to be thinking about the Olympics. He isn't going to be thinking, oh, I have more Grand Slam finals down the road. Sinner would definitely have more Grand Slam finals down the road. Hurkacz's mentality is like a Stanislav Wawrinka had the 2015 Roland Garros mentality, which is, I am going to have to play the absolute match of my life. This is my chance. Jannik, he'll have more chances. If we get to this point, Hurkacz is going to be thinking, this is my chance to take this home. I think he performs. I think he learns from Halle. And I think that he takes out Jannik Sinner. The record for them is 3-2. Hurkacz beat Sinner 6-3, 6-3 in Dubai a couple of years ago. They've had some close matches. They went 3 sets on clay in Monte Carlo, a very close match between the two of them a few years ago. Like I said, the record is 3-2. Very close match in Halle. Hurkacz beat him in Miami, in the final of Miami, in 2 sets, straight sets in 2021, although Sinner wasn't really himself, but he still was in the final. But yeah, I mean, Sinner wasn't himself, but I still think like 3-2, it's a pretty good record. It's not a bad record for Hurkacz. It shows that he's been able to be competitive with Sinner, and I have Hurkacz beating Sinner in 4 sets, a big upset, getting his first major. Big call from me. I love his draw. Novak is in there, but I have some concerns about the knee. And even outside of that, Novak hasn't played that great this year. I think Hurkacz will have confidence from the win last year and building upon off of that. Hurkacz will not want to expend a whole lot of energy. There's no doubt about that. He is one of these bigger guys. He doesn't want to play a whole lot of long matches, but I think he can avoid it with his draw. He's got Alba, then he's got maybe a Dominic Stricker or Artur Feast, then he's got Francisco Cerundolo. He's got a few guys in there. Demonor in the fourth round could be tough. But I just feel like, especially if the other semifinal pans out the way it does and he has, say, Taylor Fritz in the semifinals, I feel like that's a match that he might not have to expend a whole lot of energy on. And I feel like he'll have some energy in the tank if we get this final. Same final like we had in Halle. We'll see if it happens. But yeah, this has been fun to do. I had my ideas that maybe Dimitrov, maybe Tommy Paul, maybe Hurkacz have a deep run at this tournament. I especially had Hurkacz in my head. I predicted Hurkacz for a year-end top 5 before the year started. To be honest, when I predicted that, I was thinking maybe he has a final or a title at Wimbledon in him. I kind of feel like he might one of these years because he's one of the absolute best grass courters. Berrettini got to a final. Kyrgios got to a final. Maybe it's Hurkacz's chance. And I feel like Hurkacz might be able to take it home like he has with a couple of Masters titles. So we'll see what happens. Going with the big call with that one. And yeah, Hurkacz over Sinner. Some wild predictions. I'm going to be excited to see what happens when I look back on this. If the Alcaraz Paul upset kind of happens. If Hurkacz, whatever. And if Fritz Korda is a quarterfinal. I went with some big ones. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'll have more stuff during Wimbledon, more post-match and other stuff, some shorter videos, just trying to put stuff out, and more podcasts as well. And yeah, please tune in for all of that, and keep Anthony Simon stuff on your radar, please. And yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'll see you guys at the next one.